A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, Patricia and David, ZMH286, and it has been a sort of a mucky day today for us weather-wise. Our trough arrived at 4:30 this morning, and it certainly would have woken the dead. It was very heavy rain, and then it eased off, and then it came again, and then on and off all day. At the moment we have it quite pleasant. It's lovely and warm for this time of the year. 18 degrees, won't seem very warm to those of you who are up in the islands, but it's pretty decent. It's been gusty though, 10 to 15 knots from the northwest. The bar is 1013.7. And I meant to tell you folk, if you want to just check on your barometer, the best way around it if you're in the islands and near an airport is to go onto Flight Radar 24 and check the airport, because they're pretty accurate. Well, they have to be accurate to give the QNH for the boats, for the planes that are arriving. So that's the best way of getting a good accurate fix, especially when it's fairly stable. 50% cloud cover at the moment, but the rest of it's very milky. I wouldn't say it's blue, it's just a milky looking sky. And boy, this morning when we were having the worst of the trough, it was just black and ugly looking. It was just like the Falado pictures that we got not so long ago. Okay, today we are going to have a little talk from David, because there's plenty of trough activity in the islands and plenty of frontal activity in New Zealand. So he's going to talk about troughs and fronts and how just the features of them, and he'll do that after we finish with the check-ins. There's not all that many today, so after we talk to Cape Providence, we'll pass the microphone to David, and he can talk troughs and fronts. Just another plea, and that doesn't seem to get through, but I thought if I say it every day it might get through. If you email, please put your boat name in the subject line. It's really hard to gather all the information, because we're getting quite a few emails, and it just helps an awful lot, saves a lot of time here if you would put your boat name in the subject line. Thank you. Okay, well, I've been looking at the boats going to Minerva, and Mintaka, who said he was going to be in at noon, has only just got in by the look of it, as has Carrera. They're in Minerva as well. So I will leave you in peace, but somebody can give us the conditions in Minerva when we finish. Flying Cloud, I suspect they're going from South Minerva to North Minerva. Flying Cloud, are you on frequency? No, nothing heard from Flying Cloud. Let's go to Mackay, Gulf Harbour Radio. Yeah, good copy, Barry. On my antenna as well as the one up north. Go ahead.
Roger. Current position 25 degrees, 09 minutes south, 178 degrees, 52 minutes west. On a course of due north. That's due north true. Wind speed is all over the place. Right now it's 19 knots out of the east and northeast. It's just a little bit forward of the beam on me, maybe 10 degrees forward of the beam. And let's see, sky condition 100% overcast. And the seas real choppy, junky, sloppy, and about a meter and a half, maybe 2 meters, also out of the east. Barometer, I got it really dropped a lot today. I got 1024 on the barometer here, so it looks like the trough has definitely moved through. All is well, Patricia, over.
Yeah, so what sort of boat speed have you got?
Yeah, boat speed right now I'm running 4.5 knots. But that's because the wind has dropped and I'm reefed down for the squall. I'm getting squalled at 30 knots, over.
Okay, yep. So we have Mackay heading north, true north, 2509 south, 17852 west, doing about 4.5 reef down because of the squally conditions. It's about 19 knots from the east northeast. Choppy seas because of the conditions, 1.5 meters easterly, not very pleasant. 100% cloud cover and a bar of 1024. Well, you're making pretty good progress though, Barney. Over. Barry, I mean.
Yeah, Roger, Trish. I've only got 90 miles left to go, so I'm expecting arrival there tomorrow sometime before noon. But it depends on the weather I get, of course. I'm pretty frustrated with how making sail changes every 10 minutes. I'm just gonna think I'm gonna leave it reefed to the squalls, and maybe I'll just motor through the soft spots over.
Yeah, I think at this stage of the game that's a good idea because you're actually arriving at a good time. You've got flexibility on both sides. I don't know how you do it. We always managed to arrive in the dark no matter where we went. So yeah, no, you've got plenty of flexibility, haven't you? So you can just play it by the energy levels, over.
Yeah, Roger that. That's exactly the plan here. We'll just see what happens. At one point today, I thought I was just going to eat you and sit out here and sulk till this all went away. But, but since
Well, it's Thursday, right?
I'm going to keep going over.
Yeah, David and I have different opinions on heaving too. I just like to see a little bit of progress, and he's a great fan of heaving too. He wants the microphone. Hang on.
Well, yeah, I do like heaving too. Yeah, Tricia has always been in the 15 years we cruised full time. It's always going. She would rather go in circles than heave too. So I don't have very good news for tomorrow at Minerva.
No, he's at 25.
Huh?
He's going to North Minerva, I think.
North Minerva. Yeah, it's yeah. We're going to have rain, squalls. Wind's going to be right up there in the 20s, I think. Yeah, I'm afraid it's not really great news for you. Over.
Yeah, Roger, I just downloaded the grids and took a look at the GFS, which is kind of agreeing with the ECMWF right now, out this short, and I can see that it's going to be ugly, so I'm just hoping that I can come around the corner in daylight and make my way through the Passover.
Yeah, exactly. You'll get shelter from the sea anyway, due to the reef itself, so that'll be good news. And it's getting through the pass. It's short, so it won't take you very long to do that. You may even want to fish, although if it's raining,
No.
I don't think we would. But anyway, yeah. Sorry about the news. I hate to be the bearer of news that's not so great, but anyway, just look at the good side of it. It'll be gone soon, and you'll be enjoying Minerva. Over.
Blowing a gale once I get inside, I get the anchor down and just get some sleep. So, okay, thank you very much, and we'll go ahead and report in tomorrow night and let you know how it went. Over.
Yeah, Roger, but if you are asleep, don't worry. And you'll certainly see plenty of sticks as you round the corner. There's quite a few boats there now. All right, we'll clear with Mackay and go to Jerry and Janet on Whistler X. Whistler X.
Yeah, good evening, David and Patricia, Jerry, Janet. Actually, our third member is Mark. That's correct. Another one of those days, just kind of pounding through, trying to slow down to make Minerva for tomorrow morning. Our plans have now changed. We are going to give up on Minerva for tomorrow. The report we got from our weather router was tomorrow during the day is going to be like 25 to 35, so we're plugging that over.
What's she gonna do?
So I'm a bit confused as to what you're going to do. Are you going to bypass Minerva and carry on? Over.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to keep going up. We're still heading north, and we're just going to go straight to Tonga now. Over.
Yep, Roger that. Yep, okay.
Going where?
Right to Tonga, so go ahead with your position. Over.
Right, we are at 24 degrees, 55 south, 17850 west. We're headed due north, and the wind speed was 21 21, that's around 21 knots right now. And coming from east-northeast. And waves about 2.3. Over.
I want to talk to him.
So your boat speed is 2.3, is that correct?
No, boat speed is 6.7 knots. Sorry, over.
Okay, so pretty much the same as what Barry is reporting. Whistler X is at 2455 and 17850 west, doing true north course, average of 6.7 with that 21 knots of east-northeast, and I presume it's a pretty sloppy condition. Here's David with a comment.
Who's this?
Jerry.
Joey?
Jerry.
Oh, Jerry, how are you? Yeah, it doesn't sound very pleasant, but am I hearing you right? Is Tonga your destination? Over?
Yes.
That's correct.
Well, I'll tell you what, not sure who your router is, but I wouldn't be heading for Tonga on Camellia, and that's our boat. But yeah, I guess if that's what his recommendations are, fine. We personally, we don't give advice, but if it were us, that's how we usually like to say it. That way we're at fault if we say something. But yeah, if it were us, we would make for Minerva and let all of this go through. But all I see going to Tonga, maybe he sees something different, but all I see is headwinds, and they're not gentle. So yeah, you're a lot closer to Minerva than you are to Tonga, that's for sure. But anyway, be that as it may, we'll talk to you tomorrow and see what the conditions are and how far you've gotten. Over.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And just to clarify, it's the router on the rally, and
Bob McDevitt.
didn't actually say to just carry on, but you did mention that entering tomorrow anytime before late afternoon or evening would not be recommended. Am I hearing that we might be better off again just to slow down and maybe heat to and wait out this front? Over?
Well, I'll tell you what, the winds in the Minerva area tomorrow around lunchtime are going to be sort of easterly, maybe a little bit north of east. And that reef is going to protect you from the sea conditions. Yeah, it'll be windy, but you'd be able to get through that pass. And once you're in Minerva, it'd be like total relief. Drop the hook and not worry about anything. But carrying on to Tonga, like I said, if it was us, just our opinion for our boat, we wouldn't do it. So anyway, best of luck. Over.
Thanks very much, guys, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, roger that. I know it's a tough decision, isn't it? And if you haven't been to Minerva before, it makes it a little bit more nerve-wracking. Okay, let's go to Falado Gulf Harbour.
David, this is Falado. How do you read it?
Yep, good copy, Cameron. Go ahead. Hi to Jan.
Yeah, we're at 28 degrees, 38 minutes south, 179 degrees, 30 minutes west. Currently doing between 3.5 and 4 knots, depending on the sea state. Heading 024 true. Wind is 054 true at 18 knots. And swings around during the day, but mostly from around 05 true. 050 true. 95% cloud cover, almost 100% now. Clear but choppy, about 2 metres swell from the northeast, so we're punching into it. Very slow progress. Last night we picked up an extra passenger, some sort of a young large bird perched itself for the night on our starboard pulpit. And this about 6:15 this morning. Took off, did a few circuits of the boat, a few more landings, and then took off and said goodbye. It was good to see.
I hope it didn't leave too many deposits on the way. Yeah, that would have been fun. Huh? Just a appreciative of the rest overnight. Falado is at 2838 west. Yeah, I've been looking at your progress today against the headwinds. 3.5 to 4 knots on a course of 024 true, with the wind unfortunately 054 true at 18 knots. It's actually stronger again than what the model said. 95% cloud cover and choppy 2 metre northeast swell. So, oh dear. Well, you've got good company. That's all I can say. Over.
Yes, it was good. I'm just wondering if there's such a thing as southeast trades. I've never seen them. Are they real?
Well, I tell you what, the boats that left on the 1st and 2nd and even the 3rd of May had a rip snorting southeast ride all the way. So, yes, you were just a little bit late. Over.
Okay. Thank you. Falado out.
All right, you'll get there. And I tell you what, it's not exactly tropically nice weather in Fiji and Tonga at the moment, looking at the satellite picture over David's shoulder. Okay, master plan, Gulf Harbour.
Gulf Harbour, good afternoon. This is Master Plan. How do you copy?
Yeah, nice copy, Dean. Go ahead.
Thank you, Patricia. Yeah, we're currently at 25 degrees 19 south, 17939 west. Our course over ground is 358 degrees true. We're currently making 5.1 knots. The wind is all over the place here at the moment, and we are also sick of changing sail. Currently 22 knots from the northeast. It's going up and down all the time.
This is the Moody.
We've got a swell probably 2 to maybe 2.5 meters from the east. It's completely overcast. And our barometer is dropping today. It's currently saying 1015.
Okay, master plan, a good Moody 2519 south, 17939 west, on a course of 358 true at 5.1, 22 knots from the northeast. So, and mind you, our boat does it pretty well, beating. So you are doing pretty well with the 5.1 boat speed. 2.5 east and overcast completely with the dropping barometer 1015. Is all well with you guys? Over.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia. Yeah, we are all well. We are still planning to get to Minerva South tomorrow. We were hoping to get in there in the morning, and we read the Rani route of the site that said to hold off. So we're making plans for trimming sails at the moment to slow down, and we'll take it a bit slower and probably get there about midday and see what happens. Over.
Roger that. Okay, I can't give you any advice on South Minerva. We've never been there, but just take care with visibility when you get in. But I'm sure you'll see other boats there, but just be careful.
But North Minerva is very easy.
North Minerva is very easy if you are a bit earlier. But anyway, we'll see how you go. Yep, I'm sure others will be on the VHF to give any comments as you get closer. Okay, we'll clear with master plan, see where they end up tomorrow, and go to Artemis, Gulf Harbour. Yes, good evening, Ingrid. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've been a bit all over the place with conditions as well. At the moment, we're making about 4 knots speed over ground with winds of about 15, maybe a little bit less at the moment. Coming, unfortunately, from the northeast, we've been battling up all day at 02 true. Our course over ground is about 330. We've got about 5% cloud cover and 1.5 northeasterly swells with northern just calm down quite a lot. Our position at the moment is 28 degrees 17 minutes south and 177.329 minutes east.
Okay, we have Artemis at 2817 south, 17729 east on a course of 330 true at 4 knots. Just I got a bit confused there, but just correct me if I'm wrong. 15 knots of northeast, only 5% cloud cover, so that's not too bad. 1.5 northeast swell, so conditions are not too bad for you guys, over, except for the moving around of the wind. Over.
Yeah, no, at the moment it's peachy sailing. We had a terrible evening, but it's been calming down as the days progress.
Yeah, okay, all right, we'll talk to you again tomorrow. It sounds pretty good on Artemis.
They're going to Minerva
Don't know.
or Fiji? Or what?
Going now to Second Sun on their way to New Caledonia, which will be interesting. As we heard yesterday from Andy, there's still quite a lot of, it's easing up. They've had a lot of army and police fly in from Papeete and from France, so that has calmed things down a bit. But and they've had a curfew from, I think it's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. during the day, so not much can be done. 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. should I say, not much can be done overnight by the rioters, but it is pretty pukey because of all the burning of rubber, so you don't want to be downwind from the billowing sooty cloud. We unfortunately, when we were in Panama, unfortunately were downwind of a huge electrical fire, and we've still got a bit of black stuff on our main sheet, even though it's in mast furling. So we'll be interested to talk to Second Sun now and see what they've decided to do. Are you on frequency? Over.
Good evening, this is Second Sun.
Well, go ahead and first of all, give us where you are and then what your intentions are. Over.
Roger that. Right now we are at 28 degrees, 22 minutes south, 172 degrees, 10 minutes east. We are barely moving right now, making 1 knot and 6 knots of wind from, we think from the northwest, but it's dying on us. Wind has been up and down and up and down. Cloud coverage right now is about 90%. We've had threatening clouds around us off and on all day. We've had rain around us. We've only been rained on a few times. It's been mostly mild, but the wind picks up every now and again and then drops off. Right now we've got reef trail off and we're not excited to unreef it because we see more big clouds in front of us. We're really looking forward to the wind doing something different. It's been headwind most of today, so we've made very little progress.
Okay, well, I didn't get your course, so that was, you're leaving the excitement of where you're going to the end. 2822 17210 east, only doing about 1 knot of boat speed at the moment, with the wind currently around the 6 knots from the northwest, which of course is where they're going if they wanted to get to New Cal. 90% cloud cover, rain has been around on and off, bits of it. So, first of all, I'll pass the microphone to David to give an update on the weather. Okay.
Well, the frontal band has pretty much passed through you, and you're just almost on the other side of it. So your winds are definitely going to shift in your favor. So I would expect that you're going to have southerly quadrant winds. And if I had to make a guess, I'd guess around midnight tonight, and that is a guess, that you'll get some relief from those northeast. I forget what you said the wind was, but
6.
Anyway, yeah, so you'll be definitely on the other side of the frontal band, and with that, much better winds. You'll be happier. Over.
Roger that. We buckled down. It's just, Central Lake just didn't plan to get very far. And wind changing. We were doing pretty good just before we stopped to make dinner, and then the wind died, which is why we're not going anywhere. We'll probably start the motor soon.
in terms of where we're going and to relieve everyone of the mystery, we have decided to forego New Caledonia and we're going to divert to Vanuatu, which is where we were going to go next. We're heading to Port Resolution in Vanuatu. We just laid in the course. I haven't put in the GPS yet, so we haven't started the motor and started heading that way. But in that direction until the wind comes up. Looks like we should get there probably Monday.
Okay, so diverting to Port Resolution, and yeah, frankly, I think that's a good idea. It's not really worth, although I'm sure it's going to be subdued fairly quickly, but why bother when you've got a perfectly good alternative? So Port Resolution, ETA Monday, and we'll update you. You've probably got weather coming in, but we'll certainly have a look at that, and we'll follow you to Port Resolution. We love Vanuatu, so you'll enjoy it.
And it's easy to go to New Cal afterwards.
And David said, as another good point, it's easier to get to New Caledonia after you've had a good look through Vanuatu. Okay, anything else, Andy? Have you heard any updates from friends up in New Cal over?
The only update we got from the boats that are there is that, they feel safe. Customs office was open today, but with only one officer, and so they weren't able to clear out. But they're expecting to clear out tomorrow and to leave this weekend for Vanuatu, and we'll meet them there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure that, well, it'd be interesting to know with civil unrest like that, whether you, in fact, could arrive in Vanuatu without the Zape. Funny enough, we had just got out of Tonga when Nuku'alofa erupted. We actually cleared out further north and sailed past with all the smoke and stuff going on in Nuku'alofa. But yeah, it's interesting. Oh, well, it's good that they will be able to clear out, at least get something. It used to be sort of a two-stage process. You did customs and immigration, and then you went to the port captain further around, and that would be very difficult to do with the blocked roads and so on and so forth. So I hope that they manage that okay. All right, well, we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow, and good that you can reorganize yourself and head east. Okay, we'll clear with you. Andy, is there anything else over?
No, we're all good. We look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Appreciate the check-in and update.
Okay, thanks for that. And right, the last boat on the list, and then David will give his little talk. He does these from time to time, usually sort of when things quieten down, but there's so much activity around with troughs and fronts, he thought he would have a little talk now so that you can have more understanding of what you are looking at. Cape Providence, and for those folk that are wondering, this boat is going from Wellington. It's just clearing the north tip of the bottom of the North Island, and it's heading to French Polynesia. Are you on frequency? Over. Cape Providence, Gulf Harbour. No, they were probably expecting us to be around the time last night at 6 o'clock. So I'm going to just have a quick call. Is there anybody else wanting to touch base? Please call now. Okay, there's two boats there. Mintaka, have you just got inside and got the anchor down? Over.
We've just pulled into Minerva and we have the pick down now. Just a bit of information for David. He was looking for feedback last night on the weather. Well, last night's weather was really interesting. Almost double every forecast that we had. Seas were 2 to 2.5 and the breeze was from the northeast 30 to 35 knots. And that held in at 5 o'clock and went right through to sunrise this morning. So it was quite an interesting night.
Holy smoke. Well, no wonder you're a bit slower getting in than what you had anticipated. But so when you were going in, and I ask this because there are boats trying to make a decision whether to go into Minerva tomorrow. So basically, the conditions that you entered Minerva, what were they just a while ago? Was it still up in the 30 knot mark, or was it less? Over?
When we arrived, it was probably a little bit less than that, but 25. It's building to 30 now at anchor. So, but there was no problem entering. It was sheltered from that side, and no problem at all. But our highlight of our day was a large Spanish mackerel was brought on board, and we're reserving that for dinner tomorrow night because we're having buttered chicken tonight, and we're all looking forward to a big sleep, and yeah, all good.
Sounds good. Well, that was a very interesting report. Thank you very much. Just be careful, and I hate to be the sound of doom, but Spanish mackerel has a bit of a ciguatera reputation, but not down there in Minerva. So make the most of the, sounds like a big Spanish mackerel. So that was good. All right, well, thanks very much for the report, Phil, and that will be of interest to others that maybe not quite so familiar with North Minerva, and just have a jolly good sleep. Okay, well,
what's the pass like now?
Oh yeah, David wants to know what the pass is like now, but they've only just got in, so that was basically 30 knots and not a problem. So I think I got that right. So is there anything else, Phil? Over?
No, that's pretty much from us. The crew are all happy and they've had a swimmer, and they don't smell like they did a few hours ago. So life for the skipper is much better. Thank you.
Jeez, I wonder if the skipper threw them overboard. We won't ask that. All right, cheers to all on board. Have a good sleep and enjoy that buttered chicken. And there was a lady's voice there. I'm wondering whether it was Carrera. There was a lady's voice just in behind Mintaka. Come again. No, nothing heard, and nothing heard from Cape Providence at this stage, so we'll pass the microphone if anyone wants to stay listening. This is going to be a discussion on troughs and fronts.
Yeah, well, good evening to everybody out there. Yeah, this actually is probably a good time to talk about troughs and fronts, especially those around the Minerva area. This is really a classic situation that geographic part of the Southwest Pacific is located. Anyway, I'll get right into it. You are inundated with fronts, troughs, conversion zones, shear lines, instability lines, all that sort of thing. And you can see if you're pulling in any of the Met services, Fiji Met, if you're pulling in their synoptic charts, if you're pulling in New Zealand synoptic charts, you'll see them there as well, and probably wonder sometimes just exactly what they are. Anyway, a trough is very simply and technically an elongated area of low pressure. Now, a trough is typically found between two highs, and I'll just take a little break and say that's just about what's happening to Minerva right now. But anyway, it also could be found in a depression and in a ridge of high pressure. Anyhow, if you were to draw a line down the center line of a trough, or if you're looking at satellite imagery, you'll see the trough by basically a line of cloud. Anyway, the pressure on either side of this line is going to be higher than it is in the middle. Thus, the wind wants to flow downhill, if you want to view it that way, or in other words, to the trough axis. And when it does that, it obviously converges. And when it converges, it can't go anywhere but up. So it rises and it forms cloud and rain. Now, in practice, that's what I just gave you is a technical term of a trough. But in practice, the word trough is used when there is no temperature differential on each side of the center line. And this is the main difference between a trough and a front. So in practice, the use of the word front means a definite temperature discontinuity across, where technically a front is defined as the interface between the two air masses of different density. When I mean different density, I'm talking about temperature and or moisture, but both will have a wind shift across the axis. So what does form a trough? And apart from the simple reason of a trough found between two highs, which is, again, what's happening in the Minerva area right now, or more precisely up and down the dateline. Anyway, a trough can develop when there is upper air forcing. And the most common cause of a trough in the subtropics is our jet stream. Now, in a jet stream, we find a jet max, or quite often we find a jet max, and that is an oval area of very, very high wind. And by that I mean 100, 150, maybe upwards of 200 knots. Now, this jet max will create an upward motion that is felt on the surface. Thus, surface pressure falls, and that creates the trough. And sometimes, in a ridge that's extending into the tropics, we see a polar dip. You probably have talked about me mentioning polar dips and warning you about polar dips. Well, this is an inverted trough, and that is in the isobars. It's like you take your finger and you push down on a synoptic chart. In other words, the isobars will turn southward or polar, then they will curve back northward or equatorward, and then they continue their anticyclonic rotation. So that's what the polar dip looks like. Now, this is a warning because the dip has the potential to develop into a low. In fact, it often does. In fact, it almost always does. Now, again, it's usually a jet max that initiates this. Another cause is a 500 millibar trough. Often I talk about 500 millibar troughs. Anyway, that will initiate a pressure drop on the surface as well. Now, the second sort of a trough that we see is when a stationary front, and a stationary front is a cold front that is stalled, and it's moving at usually about less than 5 knots. But when that happens, it tends to rotate, and it tends to bear kind of east-west. So at the beginning when this happens, there is a temperature difference across the front. That's why we could use the word front, even though it is stationary. But as it continues to slow down and time carries on a bit, forecasters will call it a quasi-stationary front. And so after a while, that temperature differential becomes more uniform. And so technically now that feature is no longer a front. And the forecasters will call it, some will call it a shear line, and others simply call it a trough. Now the third one, and this is a trough that develops in the cold air behind a cold front. And this happens in the subtropics, in the New Zealand area up to, say, 30 south, so between there and further south. So what happens is, after you've gone through the initial front, cold front, and you experience the normal backing of the wind, you may notice suddenly the wind strangely veers slightly. Now, this is a prelude to a secondary trough, and when it passes, the wind backs again. And unfortunately, there could be multiple secondary troughs behind the original cold front. And I can tell you, in the New Zealand area, this is very, very common. In fact, this cold front that has gone through New Zealand last night and today has had a number of secondary troughs. In fact, we have even had a precursor front, a precursor trough. And that's a trough that is actually in front of the cold front. That happens from time to time. In fact, it happened this time as well. Anyhow, lastly, we come upon what the tropical forecasters like to call an instability line. And this is a term used in the tropics, solely in the tropics. And this is an isolated, small band of clouds which have the potential to develop into a tropical disturbance, or simply just cloud and rain. And its causes are quite varied, complex, and there's no point in getting into all of that at this point, but just be aware that that happens often in the tropics, and so you may hear that word instability line or otherwise trough. In fact, Fiji Met never uses that. They use the word trough for almost everything. So, quick summary of what I said. This will be just a minute. Cold front, a band of cloud, showers, potentially violent weather, a definite temperature differential on each side, or a change of moisture on each side. A surface trough, that's a line or a band of cloud, showers, where the temperature is similar on both sides. Quasi-stationary front, a cold front moving less than 5 knots, a definite temperature difference exists on each side. A shear line, another name for a quasi-stationary front in the tropics. And convergence zone. In the tropics, this is a line or band of cloud and showers where winds of different directions and speeds clash. It's non-frontal, so that means there is no temperature difference on either side of this feature. Now, the South Pacific Convergence Zone is a good example of convergence. Going a little bit further, passing the quick summary bit, going a little bit further, the cold front, the surface trough, the quasi-stationary front, the shear line, they're usually formed and sustained by upper level forcing. And forcing simply means there is an upper level feature that causes a drop in the surface pressure, what I mentioned a few minutes ago. Very simplistically, think of a vacuum cleaner at about 40,000 feet, and that is simply pulling up surface air. Now, as opposed to this, the convergence zone is formed by surface flow, which I just mentioned before, from different directions. And that is sustained and typically enhanced in the long term by upper level flow, allowing the rising air to vent. Now, this is not accomplished by the previously mentioned vacuum cleaner effect, if you will, but instead think of it as an efficient chimney, if you will, a fireplace chimney that's sustaining the fireplace due to strong airflow that's basically venting the chimney. And so therefore that feature on the surface just keeps going as long as we have that venting at higher levels. And again, the South Pacific Convergence Zone is a good example of what's going on. Now, you probably wonder why that is so persistent in the Southwest Pacific. Well, it's all caused mostly, 50% by the quasi-stationary high that's in the eastern South Pacific, just off the coast of South America. It sits there. And the other half of it is caused by the traveling highs that are going west to east. So we've got the flow to the north coming from the semi-permanent high, and we have flow to the south coming from the traveling highs there. They're clashing, and when they clash, they create the cloud, the rain, and otherwise known as SPCZ. Now, that usually runs from the Solomons all the way down to the Southern Cooks, but it can break up into little chunks, and you will see this if you're getting satellite imagery. Almost all the time you're seeing bands of cloud that are up in the deep tropics. In other words, 10 degrees south, 15 degrees south, that type of thing. So anyway, that is the little talk, if you will, regarding fronts and troughs and so forth and so on. And those of you that are on their way to Minerva or halfway to Minerva are certainly going to experience the two highs that are clashing. And unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. And it will go. So that's the good news. All right. I'll pass this over to the chief, and I hope you got something out of it.
Well, if there's any questions, don't feel that you have to ask on air, but we don't mind responding on air. But if you want to ask any questions, then just send an email. As you know, ghradio@extra.co.nz. Now, I'm just going to see if Cape Providence is there this time. Cape Providence, Gulf Harbour. No, nothing heard. Is there anybody with anything? Does it matter the topic? Please call. No, nothing heard. I will leave you all in peace tonight, and I know it's not all that peaceful at sea if you're around the Minerva area or in the Noumea area. So have a good, safe night, and we will be back again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody. The frequency's yours.